everyone, and welcome to, we're talking about Colonel Prouty's CIA operative book, and we're going to read chapter 22 because we actually haven't finished the book. We're almost there. We literally have 2 chapters left. And it just felt really daunting when I was reading it because it's so intense. And this next chapter, we may just do half, but we may do the whole chapter. We'll see how we go. So I'm going to read it to you. So this is in honor of JFK and not John F. Kennedy. This is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s appreciation for joining forces with his greatness. And that's our goal for you, is that you're in greatness. We're leaving you in educational greatness. Camelot, from the Bay of Pigs to Dallas, Texas. During the afternoon, snow began to fall. It had that wind-blown, leaden look of a major storm. Those who could slipped out of their offices early to beat the traffic. Few cities in the world suffer more in snowstorms than Washington. The view from the big windows in the Office of the Secretary of Defense out over at the Tidal Basin and the Potomac was wintry and beautiful. A heavy curtain was falling on the end of an era. Men who had been in Washington since the days of Franklin Roosevelt were planning to leave, or at least to retire from the daily commitment to government. In 1960, Washington had become a rather shabby city. The massive government buildings stood stark and cold. The many parks and monuments had been neglected by the aged tenants who had grown too accustomed to their appearance. No one noticed any longer how drab the whole city had become. They never remembered it any other way. It was evident everywhere that this was the end of an era of depression and recovery, of major war, victory and hopeful peace, of the atom bomb and of worldwide instant communications, an era of great depths and an era that had the promise of great heights. But all of its leaders were now old and spiritless. Their great moment, those years of preparation for the ultimate summit conference and for the crusade for peace, had come to a shattering end. Now in the shambles of that dream, the weary generation was turning over the mantle of government, the greatest government the world has ever known, to a young man who was barely a youngster when they had first come to Washington. And as many of the old stalwarts gathered in the office of the Secretary of Defense to say their farewells to him and to the world of great power, they knew so well, they looked for the last time out over the Potomac into the sweeping and deepening snow of the night, and the history closed over them. As if to presage the change that was taking place beneath the surface of the glittering events, the streets of Washington had been plowed, shoveled, and swept clear of all the snow for the inaugural parade, not for the municipal equipment other cities would have used, but by the U.S. Army and its heavy equipment. The Kennedy administration owed its very inaugural festivities to the might of the U.S. Army, to its stealthy appearance by night into the streets of the city, a United States city, and this was part of the new era too. Subtle changes which had been underway began to burst forth into the open with the inauguration. From the first, changes were visible. The Kennedy team had been together through a long battle. Their operational procedures were honed and ready. There was a Kennedy way and there was the other way. They changed Washington a lot with the Kennedy way. Eisenhower had been precise in his administrative practices. He had been made great use of the National Security Council and of the implementing support of the Operations Coordinating Board. His decisions were the product of open and free discussions in the NSC chambers, and then having been made, those decisions were followed by the OCB to assure their proper accomplishment within the government. But Kennedy saw no real need for the NSC method. side cross talk is just, we're feeling things out, because what we know to be true is the way the Democrats work in communism is steering a alliance into opportunity. It's an opportunity for the group to grow. You always got to look at the ethics and morals as your foundation. Note that maybe that what you're thinking isn't exactly your thoughts, and it stems from the legacy of your generational, what's it called? It's like generational trauma. And then you have to choose a different path. You got to do something different, which you've already started the process, but it's one step to the many steps of a future of possibility of what could be possible. But not doing it in the way that your ancestors have done it. Doing it in a way of yours, your way, like your journey. So it's a big deal to cut ties with that path, because it's like this. They did it like this. They also did it like this. They did it like that too. But then you did it like this to start. But that messes with the vibe. And so they'll try to stop to get you to go to that. And that's the easy path. But what you really want is to go this way. You really want to go that way. But the communism mind will tell you otherwise. And communism mind looks like this. And it'll feel like success. But that's not actual success, because you're failing. It just doesn't really occur as if it's failure. But the grounding foundation, notice how if I would have attached this, it would have been a circle. And you want to break that chain, but that's almost, it's not impossible, but it's a lot of effing work. This is like not just about politics. This is about your lineage. See, those people out there don't really know your family. They don't know them. They don't know the evils. They only saw the glory in the front. But you grew up in it. And they'll constantly bring up this word, the words of assassination. What the hell is that all about? Think about that when it comes to your Biden administration not wanting to give protection to a Kennedy. That's a big freaking deal. Then they hid the fact that they were terrorizing him. So think of those things that they did to you, which is really horrific, by the way. So this is just me telling you how horrific they are, but you have to stand strong in not being the victim. As in an awareness game of what your family was involved in. That isn't you, but it's your lineage of the creator of that. It's very, very, very deep conversation of the path of the party and how it went, and how the party threw out a Kennedy. Because why did you leave the parties? Because they were vicious, vile, and un-American. But the lineage of, even if it's just persona, is American. So the path is a different path now, but there's work that really needs to be implemented, and that's why you need a mentor. It's very rocky ground for you right now. Donald Trump is your mentor. And that's a good thing. So there's that. And there was something else I was trying to come through, but I couldn't quite grab it. Let's see. And the great moment of those years, ultimate summit conference, now in the shambles of that dream, the weary generation was turning over the mantle of government, the greatest government in the world has ever known. That one, that one, that one. The National Security Council, of its implementing support of the Operations Coordinating Board, his decisions were the product of open and free discussions in the NSC chambers, and then having been made, those decisions were followed up by the OCB to assure their proper accomplishment within the government. But Kennedy saw no real need for the NSC method. In the beginning, he did not recognize and understand its useful and significance. When he wanted something done, he called upon his close friends, even upon one of his relatives, and after a brief discussion, they would go out and do what he had directed. The system can work in an operation such as the campaign had been, where the campaign team is the whole organization. However, in an organization as large as as immobile as the ponderous U.S. government, this system is quite ineffective and leaves much undone and uncontrolled. It tends to leave tens of thousands of lesser bureaucrats on their own to do their own devices. Boom. Problem in where we are today. That's not a real leader. It was all, well, I want to remind you, we're speaking in the past. It was all about looking good. It encouraged the stagnation of the bureaucrat and the catastrophe of the irresponsible inaction. Almost immediately following, you have to have expectations to be told that's not right or that's not good. And that's the problem with this Democrat Party, is everything they want to be told, just like an influencer, that everything they're doing is correct, but nothing they're doing is correct. It's gross. It's actually ugh. Almost immediately following the inauguration, the ST saw the door was wide open. With practically no NSC meetings and therefore no council to effectively control the CIA, there was no application of those crucial parts of the National Security Act of 1947 that requires the NSC to direct the agency. Without such direction and control, the CIA was practically free to act on its own. Few men in the new government had any idea of what was being put into shape for the Cuban invasion. Those who did knew only bits and pieces of the whole plan. The men were not accustomed to the double talk and undercover language and actions of the agency. That's everyone at the Democrat National Convention. They heard briefings that they did not know what they really meant. So that's what? Miscommunications. That means they're already failing. That's bad leadership. That's bad leadership. The government should be ran like a well-oiled machine. And when someone throws a stick in the machine, then we call the machine fixer. They think this is what they think. They think I heard a briefing means that they're really, really sophisticated. So I was at this briefing at the White House, and that means I'm really sophisticated and really intelligent. And so then what I did was I went on the stage and I did the Dougie, and that means he's valuable. So everyone just loved it. Think about that, what I just said. We're going to be a little bit all over the place with pop culture, as well as the Kennedy, Robert, as well as other things. So just be aware. On the other hand, you got to be multidimensional here. We're only going to go, I think we'll see how far we go. I don't think I'm going to read the whole chapter because I keep getting side stopped. It might be my new project to finish this book. On the other hand, the large number of the new Kennedy team were old CIA hands. They did not know exactly what was going on, and they used their special knowledge and experience to further isolate those who did not. So you could actually take a look at my graph and call this take out the fact that I called this the Kennedy vicious circle. But let's just say that these are the citizens known as sheep. And this is news media, government, influencer, Hollywood, and all those people that are really controlling marketing. It could be TV. It could be movie. I said movies, but Hollywood. It could be music. And this doesn't give people opportunity to grow, does it? And then occasionally they pull out an annoying prostitute with boobies. And they think because one woman has intelligence that they deserve a right to whatever it is in their mind, but they don't have intelligence. They're not intelligent. The problem with this is they don't have intelligence. They read a script. They don't listen. They're not good at their jobs, but they deserve a promotion. So you're not good at your job. You got a bunch of people acting like wild animals, which is very clear. You got protesters and you just think, well, that's normal. That's not normal. That's not normal because you haven't handled this Palestine problem, and these people have disrupted. They've disrupted citizens' lives all over in these big cities over another country that has nothing to do with us. And it's not really, honestly, it's none of their business. These are low-class citizens who do not understand politics. These are the drama club kids who think that they should get whatever they want with an influencer platform now that's been given to them by communism. None of your business. More so none of your business when Donald Trump's in office. That's the way government should be trusted. However, it's not being trusted at all, but you think you're a politician because you got 23 million followers. But you don't educate on anything, and then you have the nerve to get in front of a man who's an entrepreneur and say, well, when do I know to balance fun, which is all you do, and you include money in your fun, and then you sell it to 23 million unsuspecting victims of what's actually going on behind the scenes. While you block all the rest of us from being successful, where you get another opportunity to grow your platform, although nobody liked your platform. So they live in delusion mind, these people of media government. They live in unrealistic reality of building up dead lives so they can do bad behavior. And that's what they did to Robert Kennedy. That's what they did to Donald Trump. That's what they're doing to me. That's what they're trying to do to JD Vance. Example is a little trash heap at the donut shop. You have some fucking nerve, lady. That's the reality of what we're dealing with here in Georgia. With customer service because of the Democrats. Because of Sandy Abrams. That's a Sandy Abrams citizen. That is a Sandy Abrams citizen. Understand that, and you'll understand what war zone we're dealing with here in Georgia. See, all of you in your high elite classes do not understand what you are doing to our low class lives who pay for everything for you. So who the hell do you think pays for Cheetos? It's not Mona Van. Who goes and eats at Toss Your Salad? Not Mona Van. But Mona Van's getting paid by people who are going to Toss Her Salad because that's how the doors stay open for Toss Her Salad. So she's disrespectful to us, brags about a ring, brags about an outfit, brags about a trip, and then delivers and educates and does nothing for anyone else except for spreads her fucking legs and gets ate out by Melissa Wood. While you as the husband, you as the fiance, you as whoever's standing next to her, do abso-fucking-lutely nothing but parade that bitch around with your fucking hand-holding shit. And that's where America actually is. There's a peculiar and dangerous characteristic that derives from the continuing application of secrecy. People know you're fucking lying, and eventually it gets them so fucking angry, it takes people to war. In an open government such as this country has been accustomed to having, it is only natural to believe that if a man is a firefighter, then his job has to do with putting out fires, and if he's a soldier, then his job is being prepared for war. In a simpler sense, government workers are trained to expect that if the men in the next office are working on the military aid program for Pakistan, then those men are doing that work. Customarily, if they meet those occupants of the next door office in the snack bar or in the dining hall, they might be expected to ask them how things are going in Pakistan. Now, if the men who are supposed to be working on the Pakistan aid program are not working on the program at all, but are actually working on a special support program for the border police of India, and the Pakistan aid program is simply a cover story, then whatever they tell their office neighbors is part of their cover story too, which means you're all living in fucking lies. In other words, it is all false, more plainly a lie. However, they justify that lie as being permissible, in fact necessary, because they have been told that the border police project is highly classified and that they cannot tell anyone about it. So if you are on a classified project, it is all right. It is, in fact, it is essential for you to lie. So you lie to the other men lies, and everyone lies, but it's all supposed to be for the greater good of the cause. When really this would all be cleaned up if you just open your fucking mouths and we all just go to war. Over a period of time, this can develop many strange situations too involved to mention here, but one of two examples may be useful. In the Pentagon, there are many offices established to do one thing. They really do not do that thing at all, but something entirely different. As a result, there are hundreds and even thousands of men who either cannot say what they are doing, or if they are forced to say something, they must lie. The polite thing to say is that they are following their cover story. This can lead to further complications. Even within the cover story scheme, there will be factions some men may be working on a certain project with a cover story, and others may be working on exactly the same project under another cover story, and neither group will know about each other. However, it's really interesting that you get excited about this when you have 2 kids. It might work when you're 20, but when you're 50 and you're 60 and your kids don't know you, and then you boo-hoo cry your bitch ass eyes out. So you can make a Hollywood movie, but Hollywood's not real. But what you've made it to be is implications to make yourselves feel better about all the lies that you've told. Now all you do is create shit movies with big fat titty women who do nothing but abuse us as an audience. Not good actresses, not good people, not up to shit. But why are they getting these jobs? They're not sheeping people. They're making people hate movies to guide people over to influencer so that we can watch Pookie screw her husband in front of us on camera. Like literally they're pounding their privates against each other. They're dry humping on camera now. And then they're posting it as if it's funny. Later, when the secretary or some other high official wants to be briefed, he might meet with one group and not the other, simply because the first group did not know the other's existence. And he will not hear this whole story. So this is really what women are up to. You think because you're in a clusterfuck of lies, ladies, that your pussy and your titties are going to fuel you into success? While my children suffer? That was the whole point of this project. We'll say Project 2025. How about we take ownership of Project 2025 and tell you that we don't want to look at Mona Van's titties in a bikini top, which, by the way, are plastic. We don't want to look at the plastic ass of a Kardashian. You're weak. You don't grow except your ass because it needs to be refilled with goop in your butthole. And he will not hear the whole story. He will hear only the first group's version of the activity. And then from that, you hear what you want to hear. So it is not that the new Kennedy team was not properly briefed about anti-Castro activities, as it was a matter of inability of any one briefing officer to give all these facts at one time. There may have been no way to have rounded up all these facts and present them. So much of what was going on was decentralized. That's why the decentralization of information is a concern. You gave the ability to be seen to the wrong people, but that was your plan, Democrats. That was Obama's plan. Hence why we are in this mess. In spite of this, each briefing officer may have thought that he knew all the facts and that he was telling the whole truth, as happened with Tracy Barnes, who sent to give Adlai Stevenson his briefing at the United Nations. Other complications crept in. Under the cover of the Bay of Pigs operation, much bigger moves were being made, meaning you decentralized information and abused other countries. You're abusing other countries, Pookie. Pookie, do you care? Pookie, Mona Van, do you care that Russia can't stand you and wants you executed? There's no one protecting you in decentralized information. That's the unclarity of what you don't get. Your sheep will not protect you when Putin comes for you. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? No, you're not brave people. You don't have security, and Logan Paul ain't gonna come save you. He's not going to save you for what you've done. He's not. He's got a daughter to take care of. Under the cover of the Bay of Pigs operation, much bigger moves were being made. All over the world, the MAP training program was picking up volume and momentum. Thousands of foreigners from all 40 countries converged upon the United States for training and indoctrination. Oh, that might be why Gary Vee was traveling to Saudi Arabia. The new curriculum was either the one at Fort Bragg or like it, and the Army interest in the political, social, economic programs under the general concept of nation building was gaining momentum. I'm sorry, but I think I exposed the Middle East. And slowly I'm exposing all other countries as well, while Taylor Swift flips her hair and shows you how an American is not. That's not an American. That's a Hollywood city of shit. They think that's how Americans act, but that's not how Americans act. That's Taylor Swift shit and that Kim Kardashian shit. That ain't American. That Hollywood glam shit is not American. That's called Hollywood. However, Monavan's trying to make that the new norm with the help of Gary Vaynerchuk. With nothing to say, nothing to offer, except a weird ass outfit that looks like a hijab. Where she refused to post the outfit, so you fell on your brand deal, so then Gary had to post it for you. How fucking embarrassing are you? And that's how weak she is in every aspect of her existence. You might as well live in a closet. The new curriculum was either the one at Fort Bragg or like it, the Army interest in the political, socio-economic programs under the general concept of meta. Monavan says it out her mouth in an Instagram story right before they go to a Jason Lee party. To you, it's insignificant, but to the real people of the world, it's very significant. That's how ignorant she is. Tell me how a Persian over an American citizen who's worked her ass off to educate on AI is getting paid by Meta while I'm sitting over here going, where is my fucking money? While you send a bitch from Virginia with my sons, my twins, to Meta, where you give her the high life treatment, where you fucking give me 300 bullshit bot followers. While you tell me that this is a fair playing ground and not to listen to the algorithm. While you hold the hand of a bitch called Persian, where you give her an opportunity to speak on a platform where one, she moderates, and two, she's a fucking psycho fuck who sits on a stage and says, eat clean. For every class of foreigners who were trained and indoctrinated with these ideas, there were American instructors and American soldiers who were being brainwashed by the very fact that they were being trained to teach this doctrine. Ooh, it looks like Monavan might have been brainwashed into thinking that Gary Vee was actually helping her career, maybe? With an underlining underbelly that she knew she was being fucked over, but she thought she was so powerful in how much money she had that nobody was ever going to be able to touch her because she'll just go to Canada. But she doesn't realize that the way that government works is you can extradite people out of the country and bring them back to the country, especially when it has to do with millions of people involved in her psychosis. And there's more other laws that I don't really know about because I'm not an actual lawyer. These instructions did not know otherwise. To them, this was non-military, political, social, and economic theme was the true doctrine of the U.S. Army. A whole generation of the American army has grown up with this and now believers to one degree or another that the natural role of an army lies in the political field. Also, they believe that an army mixes some medical and educational ingredients into this nation's building. Medical and educational? Oh, it must be your outfits, Mona. Must be you wearing those outfits with your pasty white legs with no muscle tone. They believe that the army is the chosen instrument of the nation building. Oh, so the army of what? The whores? The whore army? You're that dumb? You don't know military. In your genes as a woman, you've never been in a military battle. Even the little hoes in the television shows who are riding their bicycles on the outskirts. Sorry. They just give up BJ and then they get put on their way. That's why they let women live. Whether the subject be political, social, economic, or military, in many cases, due to the great emphasis the CIA placed on training the police forces of certain foreign countries, a large number of American servicemen who were used for such training became active in what was really police work and not the scope of regular military work. It was the CIA with the help from a few other agencies that put together the Inter-American Police Academy during the early Kennedy years, which played such an important part in emphasizing national police power in the nations of Latin America. The CIA brought in police instructors from all over the United States and from the military for this school. The success of this school operating covertly from the army base in the Canal of Panama. Oh, is there one in Qatar? And how about Korea? Or how about Paris? Or how about Toronto? Or how about Singapore? Or how about that's Gary's conversations that he's having on stage and that's what it's about? Led to other schools in the U.S. that have carried out this type of work for police forces in this country. Part of the impetus behind the great buildup of the strength of police force all over the country dates back to the CIA Police Academy work and to the other schools it spawned. The police work not only involved training, but integrated new weapons, new procedures. You mean like having kids? The devil's spawn of whatever Mona Van creates in her existence, she's the devil's spawn. The new techniques into American police work, some of which has been good and much of which has been ominous. Alexa, what is ominous?
Ominous is an adjective that describes something that forebodes evil or harm. Something is ominous when it portends or threatens evil, misfortune, or harm. An ominous sign or indication is one that suggests a potentially negative outcome. Ominous things or events can include dark clouds, a still lake surface, a still forest on a stormy day, or a rumble of thunder.
Or maybe a yacht in Cannes Lions, an empty room with a bunch of books, or a party scene of a bunch of psychopaths who don't really understand marketing or people, who act like robots and then say words like AI to make themselves sound smart. Or those that are under the age of 40 who have no fucking clue how to live a real existence, nor do they care. They just want to win. They just want to be famous and they just want to get money. And the CIA is willing to give them that if they're willing to work with the CIA. Although I'm exposing you with every step of the way. And that's all I have because we're at 38 minutes. I think we gave some really good information. What do you think? Don't worry, we will continue this Camelot discussion. I'm very much into Camelot. And so that, this part of the book I think is very pertinent to what we're dealing with. And I'm really actually going to give Colonel Prouty, my buddy and my bestie, my family, I love you, Colonel Prouty. We do not like Jesse Ventura though. I'm just going to let you know. And we're going to just tell Colonel Prouty, we just think you're awesome. We love your book so far, and we are almost done with it. Let me just give you a little excerpt from page 125, from the world of the law to the interpretation. Dulles' next goal was to rebuild the influence of the CIA in the White House. He accomplished this masterfully by seeing to it that Bobby Kennedy heard all the things he wanted him to hear during those hearings. He won him over without the appearance of catering to him or doting upon him. Therefore, he saw to it that Bobby was left to his own thoughts as each day's witnesses entered the committee rooms in the windowless confines of the inner JCS area of the Pentagon. All he did was to make certain that the train of witnesses was so selected with their testimony would be patterned to present the agency in its best light, and so inconspicuously transfer blame to others such as the JCS. But most of all, he arranged for witnesses who would provide background briefings of the new agency drift into counterinsurgency. The broad plan for counterinsurgency as a marriage of the CIA and of the U.S. Army had been laid out during the last months of the Eisenhower administration. It remained for its proponents, mostly men of the secret team, to sell it to the Kennedy team. Something to look at for you, Bobby Kennedy Jr. That's probably actually why Bobby Kennedy was murdered. And there's a particular reason why, more than what you think, of why they put you up in a courtroom when they weren't even giving you the publicity that you needed. They weren't giving you the publicity that you deserved. And this is non-biased conversation because you know I'm on Trump's side. Grateful to your support for the Trump administration. Blanked my mind that didn't realize it was raining out. As to why they assassinated him. More than what you know to think of why they put you before the judicial system. More than what you think. 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 It's more than what you think. Although, if you go back and you do research, you'll find new shit. It's like a lot of work, though. If I look at the documents, I'd probably be able to read it. I'd even be able to read it to you, and then you'd be like, oh, now I see, and it'd probably make you really angry. Anywho, we wanted to give a shout out to Bobby Kennedy Jr. for thanking him for supporting. And we are excited to have you on the team, honestly. We're really excited. I actually liked Bobby Kennedy. I did not like John Kennedy. Double caution shows. We got to cut the ties from this psychosis. Part of this problem is that Dulles was evil as shit, and he brainwashed leaders, which is what the CIA is currently trying to do with the help of Persian psychopaths. This book is the most authentic to the work because he's died making this book. And Dulles wrote a book that I could literally counter-insurgent it into the reality of what he was actually saying, because part of exposing the truth for these liars is to make it look as a narrative of him being the good guy while having bad intentions behind their efforts. So we'll pick up, we're on page, if you want to reread the section that I just read to you, because it's very deep conversation. Chapter 22, Camelot, from the Bay of Pigs to Dallas. We made it to page 474. And we'll start back with, and this is how you do class when you're doing class with people. Class could continue on for another 15 minutes, but you know it takes forever for this shit to download. Anyone who doubts this nation building and police activity, that's what we'll start with our next lesson on this page of 474. Make sure you, well, actually, this is what I would say. Make sure you reread what we talked about today, and I'd like you to make notes in the margin. And tomorrow's lesson, we'll take the last 15 minutes for discussion, question answers, to where the group of class can get into the conversation of discussing what we just discussed. And that's what class would be.